I'm here with Eric Clonch this morning, and he's been in the banking industry for about 25 years. He's been here with Beverly-Hanks Mortgage for about 12. And it's a privilege to be able to sit down with him this morning and just talk about what's going on the mortgage side of things going into 2023. So, Eric, how are we doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you, Matthew?
I'm good. I appreciate you meeting with me and just being able to talk to myself and everybody of what we might see in the upcoming year.
Well, I think that's a great question, right? So 2023, I think, is going to be a little bit more of a normalized mortgage and housing market. And so what do I mean by that? When we think back to 2020, 2021, 2022, a little bit distorted, COVID, pandemic, a lot of people being able to work from home, work from anywhere. So I think it pulled a lot of buyers forward from a lot of different states, especially here to Western North Carolina. And so we saw a normalization in 2022, especially with interest rates, right?
Absolutely.
They really went up quite a bit with the Federal Reserve deciding to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so we're going to be looking at a more normal housing market for your buyers and sellers.
And so let's talk interest rates for a second. Where are they right now and where are they predicted to be? Because obviously there's a lot of news, a lot of headlines about that. So what are you seeing being in the industry day in and day out?
So we saw a high interest rate mid-October-ish, around 7.25%, 7.5%. We saw that come back down and touch roughly around 6%, maybe the high fives. Right now, we're probably looking at 6.25%, 6.5% on a 30-year conventional rate loan. There are other programs, FHA, VA, USDA, short-term adjustable, things of that nature that might be different.
Okay. And the last thing that I want to ask you real quick that I'm sure a lot of people have questions about. So whenever we talk about the buyers, is it a good time to buy? What are some potential things moving into 2023? Is there anything that would look different from a buyer's side? And then from the other end of the spectrum, if someone is looking to sell, are there any potential strategies like a 2-1 buy down or something like that that might make a seller's property more enticing?
Yeah, so you're bringing up two really good points. So for buyers, I think it's always a good time to buy. There's something inherently good about having a house that you can paint the walls and not have to ask your landlord or your parents, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really good to just have that ownership and that equity, because the reality of it is, as a homeowner or as a renter, you're paying somebody's mortgage, not your own. You're paying the landlord's mortgage. When it's your home, you're building equity in that home. And listen, we're seeing home ownership demand still pretty solid levels, right? We're seeing interest rates at moderate levels from a historical perspective, roughly at about the average of the past 70 years. And home ownership is an important part of the American dream. So buyers, it's always a good time to buy. For sellers, listen, depending on the house, depending on the location, depending on your price point, you may or may not be in flow at the market. So you may get 5 or 10 offers in a weekend. You may get no offers in 3 or 4 or 5 months. It really depends on the situation. So I do think this is a year, again, a more normal market where it's more equally balanced between buyers and sellers. Sellers need to work with realtors like you, Matthew, who are going to be hosting open houses, who are going to be marketing the property, who are going to be talking about it in the sales meetings at their office, and who are going to be having broker open houses. We're going back into a more historical norm of the market. You mentioned a 2-1 buy down. 2-1 buy down. Sellers, if you're out there and you want to sell your house and you want to get creative and you want to help that buyer make that happen, consider the 2-1 buy down. Is it going to cost the seller a little bit of money? Yes, similar to seller paid closing costs. But there are some specific advantages to the buyer that might make that more attractive. So for sellers, if you're willing to get a little bit creative, talk with Matthew. He and I'll get the details so that you're made well aware. But I think that's a great point, Matthew.
Well, thank you for your time. And if you guys have any questions or you want to further a discussion that Eric and I have touched on here, feel free to DM me, scream and shout, do what you have to do to get in touch with me, and I would love to talk to you. I'm sure Eric would love to have a conversation with you as well of how we can come alongside you in this upcoming year and add value to your real estate goals. Thank you, and I hope you have a blessed day.